Hi, I'm Mike Nolte. I'm the interim chair of the CLD Standards Council, and I've been a member since its start in 2008. The origins of the Standards Council came about because in the mid-1990s and early 2000s, the practitioners within an ever-increasing diversified field were saying there's a need for a professional standards council in Scotland. A report was put together by Professor Ted Milburn from the University of Strathclyde that recommended that a professional standards body be established. The Scottish Government approved the recommendations of that report, and in 2008 the Professional Standards Council for Scotland was established.
My route into CLD has been through volunteering for a lot of years. I now work in a very small third sector organisation. I saw the CLD Standards Council as being very important as a way to increase our networks and to increase the profile of CLD, both through the statutory and the third sector. I think it's really important that we realise there are ways to support the professional development of all practitioners in CLD, whether that's in a volunteering role or in paid staff roles. I see coming down to the Standards Council from rural Aberdeenshire as being very important, and coming from a different area just brings a different flavour to it and also gives a chance for us to network and widen those links as well.
My role at the moment is as a volunteer with the Standards Council team. In 2015, a survey of people practising CLD discovered that there were over 40,000 practitioners of CLD as volunteers. That's people volunteering in youth work, people volunteering in community development, people volunteering in adult learning and literacies. So the Standards Council is really keen that all these CLD practitioners, CLD volunteer practitioners who are doing all this great work out in our communities, working with young people, working with adults, are getting the support that they need. And just making sure that the Standards Council is doing all it can do to make that impact as great as it can be.
The Approvals Committee, the work of the Approvals Committee can be broken down into three different strands of work. So we approve the professional qualifications which allow you to practice as a community learning and development worker in Scotland. We also have an approval route which is developmental. So for people who have done a PDA in youth work, we then have an approval process to just look at the community learning and development aspect of that qualification. We don't really look at the other aspects, but just the CLD aspect, and we look to make sure that the qualification is fit for CLD approval. We look at the ethics, the values, the competencies around CLD work. And the third route, what's called the Standards Mark. And the Standards Mark is for approval of professional learning that you might undertake as a worker, so that you can see that that qualification and that piece of learning is fit for approval. And it really lets our membership and lets the sector know what it is that we're doing and what it is that you're signing up to. It lets you see that there has been colleagues and people who've been members of the Standards Council have looked at the learning and they have made that approval.
I did my youth and community work training in London, and before I embarked on that course I wanted to make sure that I could work in Scotland, so I researched the professional qualifications in Scotland and the mutual recognition, and I was really pleased to find out that my programme would be recognised in Scotland and would enable me to to work as though I was professionally qualified through a Scottish university that had CLD Standards Council approval. So that has enabled me to have a career in youth work and CLD in Scotland, and to be part of the CLD Standards Council and the approvals work that we carry out, that has allowed me to take my qualification from England and work in Scotland. So it's great to be part of being able to implement that and make sure that the quality standards are high for training for practice across the UK.
My role with the Standards Council is with the Professional Learning Committee. I've actually been a member of that committee for, I think, around 5-ish years, maybe nearer 6. So there's been quite a lot of things happened within the Standards Council during the time I've been on that committee. I was probably involved way back at the time where we were looking at the document around developing the learning culture, around about the CLD workforce, and that has informed a number of areas of work that have followed. There's obviously been work happened around about development of an induction framework across the sector, and there's now been a lot of work happening in partnership with the regional partnerships that exist across the country around about professional learning. And the Standards Council has now been in a position to fund some of those networks to support the professional learning activity in their area.
Part of the work that we've done in the Professional Learning Committee is to set up iDevelop, and that is an electronic platform for professional learning for CLD workers. Within the iDevelop resource itself, there's a lot of materials and resources that can be used for personal CPD and also for delivery of CPD to colleagues and to staff. Also on that, there are group spaces where you can have a group that you meet and you can place papers. You can have a forum within that where you'll maybe have a meeting and then you'll talk about things after the meeting. And that allows people from all over the country really to be able to talk to each other remotely after meetings, to then catch up on stuff and actually do CLD work. Additionally to that, there are forums that people can join where it's just on a subject of CLD, where maybe somebody will maybe post something and everybody can just talk across the country about how they feel about particular issues that have come up. And it's also a place where policies are kept. If you're looking for resources, looking for things that you need, you can actually go into iDevelop and just pull them off.
I suppose the work of our committee encompasses a number of things. In this last year particularly, we've had to take on some tricky issues such as deregistration and the re-registration of practitioners. Deregistration is where we remove people from membership of the Standards Council, and that became obvious that that was quite an important issue we had to deal with. So we needed to put a process in place that allowed us to deregister people who were no longer appropriate. So we've talked through that issue at length. We've consulted with the membership around deregistration, and we've now got a process in place. The other major piece of work that we've done over the last year is to look at how we re-register our members, how we look at the professional learning that our members are doing to ensure that they're still meeting the competences and to ensure that they're still meeting the code of ethics. You know, as a member, you'll have joined up and you'll have agreed to do a certain amount of professional learning every year, and you will also have agreed to stick by the code of ethics. And it's important for any membership organisation to check that out and to ensure that people are sticking to what they agreed to. We didn't want to make it a particularly onerous task, so we've gone to a re-registration process every 3 years, and you'll be asked, starting very soon, to look towards re-registration. So that will include you kind of making a commitment again to the ethics and the professional learning commitment, and we will check with all of our members whether or not they're meeting that commitment.
I'm really proud to have helped develop some of the resources for iDevelop and helped some of our students contribute information about their journey from volunteer to CLD standards member and professional working in the sector. One of the recent things that we've done across universities is help influence the development of the Quality Assurance Agency's benchmarks for teaching in higher education. These are very much arise from the CLD Standards Council standards and are aligned to the National Occupational Standard Framework. So we've remained true to our roots, and we've made it applicable to contemporary conditions and contexts, and I'm glad that we've been able to be a part of that, because these standards and the work of the CLD Standards Council through iDevelop mean that those standards are used around the world and they're seen around the world by other workers, and that's important to be able to reach out to them and provide that standard that they can use in their work as well.
For me, registration is really, really important because it allows, I think I had experience of CLD being quite a lonely place in my last, in previous roles. So I was the only CLD qualified practitioner within a large organisation. So those discussions about values and ethics and practice often didn't happen. So being a member of the CLD Standards Council allows me to be part of a kind of wider community where I was able to discuss challenges, discuss issues, but also share successes, share the good stuff that happens, that we know happens every day. So I suppose being part of that wider community is really kind of what drove me to be a registered member of the CLD Standards Council. And in terms of what you get back, it's that I suppose that community of practice that can really support you and make you feel like part of a wider network, even if you're not in your employment setting. So I would urge lots of newly qualified or students in universities to register as members of the CLD Standards Council. It's really worthwhile.